Good afternoon, Fiorella. We're going to give it one more minute. A few people are over in the Teams link, so we're going to try to go over there and get a hold of them real quick. All right, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I am not feeling 100%. So if I am not as cheerful or as enthused as I normally am, I swear to you, this is very important to me. So just bear with me today. So good afternoon and welcome to the second part of our 7-part monthly Overcoming Barriers to Engaging Fathers video series, Watch Party and Guided Discussion. A quick introduction. My name is Patrick Childers and I work as the program coordinator at the Healthy Families Florida Central Office. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy day to dedicate to think about how our program can improve our services for fathers. The hope is that that this video series watch party event can be an engaging way for us to come together and utilize our biggest strength, which is our staff's experience and ingenuity to share and develop strategies to overcome specific barriers presented in today's video. The number one goal for today is for you to leave better equipped to have conversations with your staff and program about how they can engage fathers, be able to critically look at the way your sites engage dads, and to give the central office ideas about how we can further support your efforts to engage fathers. As we start to watch the video, please be thinking about areas of your program that are affected by the topic, because the more involved and responsive we are, the more valuable today will be. Last time, we had a lot of great conversation, but there's no pressure. Even if you leave today with some ideas about conversations to have with your sites, that's a win in my book. So let's go ahead and get this video up and running. And if anyone can't hear it or has any issues like that, please let me know and we will get that sorted out. Here we go.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jason Perry, and I'm going to be talking with you today about recognizing the barriers to paternal involvement and giving you some strategies for how you can overcome those barriers. Today's barrier that we're going to be dealing with is maternal gatekeeping. Maternal gatekeeping. The relationship with the mother and the father has been identified as a really very important barrier to the father's involvement. These complex and sensitive relationships make it difficult for fathers, but also for maternal and infant health programs, as mothers often serve as gatekeepers to the father being invited and engaged in the program. So one of the things that I want to stress, I want to stress a very important point here at the beginning, is that gatekeeping in and of itself is not negative. But for the purpose of this training, I'm going to be referring on negative gatekeeping. And negative gatekeeping is that gatekeeping which is unduly or unnecessarily limits the father's involvement with the child. So how can we overcome this barrier? Let me start with giving a bit of a disclaimer and explaining what promoting paternal involvement is not. It is not a zero-sum game. And what I mean by that is, speaking of the importance of fathers is not a diminishment of the importance of mothers. It is not a negative statement about mothers or women or the job that they're doing. It does not mean that mothers are being pushed aside, dismissed, disrespected, or demeaned. Nor is it a demand for the inclusion of biological fathers. Both of these are comments that I've heard in my training around the country. There are circumstances that may necessitate the biological father's exclusion. And so what is promoting, paternal involvement is what? It is an acknowledgement of the reality that the presence of a father, a healthy father, or a positive, healthy male role model can bring some very positive benefits to the life of the child and the mother. And so with that, we should understand what we are saying when we are promoting paternal involvement. So how do we overcome these barriers? And so there's a couple of things that I want to talk about today that will help you overcome, or help mothers overcome this issue of maternal gatekeeping. So one is that you should be aware of the reasons for a mother's reluctance to share information with the father or even about the father. There are a number of reasons, so let's look at just a few here. One is relational conflict. It may be that the mother is fearing for her safety. She may be concerned about the safety of the child. She may be concerned, there may be some domestic violence issues. So that's on one end of the spectrum of relational conflict. On another part of the spectrum simply could be that the mother has resentment or anger toward the father of her child based upon some unmet expectations or disappointments. Other issues may involve legal and custodial issues. If there is a divorce going on or some kind of legal battle going on for the custody of that child, that could cause the mother to not want you to know certain things about the father. It could be that the father simply does not want to be involved and has communicated that to the mother. Therefore, she is keeping him involved at his wish. Lastly, it could be that there's some concern over the impact of paternal involvement on support services received. All of these are issues that could impact whether or not a mother wants to share information about the father. The last thing I want to share with you is that a way for you to overcome this barrier is to really help the mother understand just how important a positive male role model or a positive father in the life of that child can be. That may give them some incentive for being more forthcoming if they can see that this is really about the child and not just about the couple's relationships issues. And so to that end, I'm providing a resource here provided by fatherhood.org that talks about some very important reasons why fathers and positive men need to be involved in the life of that child. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your efforts to reach fathers.
All right, so we will conclude the video here. If I can exit out, and we will pull up some of our discussion for today. Okay, so after watching that video, let's make sure I'm unmuted here. Okay, good. A few ground rules for today's discussion so we can keep things as organized as possible. It went really great last time. So in order to keep us from interrupting each other, if you could please use the hand raise reaction so I can acknowledge you before you speak. If you have not used Zoom before, you can do that if you look at the, well, now I can't see it. Okay, so anyway, you use the reactions. So I can acknowledge you before you speak, or feel free to type in the chat box or raise your hand. That way we can keep things organized. Anyway, okay, so, all right, I'm going to pose a couple of questions to you all today based on specific topics mentioned in the video today. But if you have a thought that you would like to share that isn't exactly related to the question, feel free to speak up. And in my opinion, this is one of the more challenging barriers to engaging fathers, because it's a lot easier to modify our perceptions than it is to help change the perception of someone else, in this case, a mother. So anyway, let's get started. So what are some of the ways that we can demonstrate the value of having an engaged father in the child's life to that child's mother? Oh, hello, Zari. So I see your hand there.
Okay, I think that when the father is in the home, even though sometimes they don't interact as much with the children because of work or whatever reason, the children feel more secure, even though dad is working the majority of the time, the majority of the time. They probably only see dad on weekends, because his only day off is Sunday. Still, the child feels safe and secure. The children feel safe and secure. Just having that other adult on top of that is a role model. Even though the family structure has changed so much in the, I don't know how many years, having dad and mom there makes a big difference in the child's life. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, you're making lots of sense. I agree that a huge benefit that we can stress is that having that second adult in the house, or the father, helps children feel more secure in their space and in their development. I don't know if that's what you were trying to get at, but even having them involved in the child's life, even some of the time, can help that a lot.
Right, that's exactly it.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. And I think that shows a lot of value to moms and dads. Okay, so we'll come over to chat here from Joy. Giving examples of the positive impacts fathers play. Some of those examples are higher self-esteem, and the kids are more well-behaved. Certainly, so giving some specific examples as to more positive outcomes when dads are involved. From Crystal Boyer, telling mom about the benefits of positive male figures. Certainly, yeah. And we'll come back. Let's see. Pam, I saw your hand was raised.
Yep, I think a good way of pushing father involvement to moms is identifying the benefits that his involvement, how it benefits her, like taking some of the stress of parenting off mom. She's got a co-parenter who can help take kids to the doctor's appointments and physical hands-on care, as well as, child developmental play, that sort of thing, kind of playing into how it benefits mom to have him involved.
Yeah, definitely. Let's not forget that having a active father in a child's life is, one, it is beneficial to the child, but two, it can be very beneficial to the mother, like Pam is stating. When you divide half, because having a kid's period can be a lot of work also. So having someone to divide that labor with is a huge benefit. And let's see, we'll go back to the chat. From D, explain to both parents that there is value to the growth and development of the child. Very true. There are many positive outcomes associated developmentally with dads being more involved with their child's life. From Debbie, we can share the statistics. We are working on creating some rap cards and things for you all to be able to share, but there are some very concrete numbers that back up not just this idea that dads are beneficial to their children, and moms want what is best for their children. So that's a great way to reach them. And we'll go down. Okay, so Jeannie, providing educational materials on the importance of dads. Educate on how dad's approach to parenting may be different than mom, but also beneficial. Having males present at parent groups and events. Those are a couple of really great ideas. So a huge benefit to having dads is that they do things a little differently sometimes, and having two heads is better than one when looking at a problem or helping your child develop. And there are a bunch of differences that we can look into more later. And I really like the idea of having males present at parent groups and events. To let dads themselves show other moms and other parents that they have value. I like that, Jeannie, thank you. And D sort of stresses in chat again what Pam said was having help with day-to-day care of the child. Kids are a lot of work. It helps to have someone else. Maggie says, encourage dads to do some tools during home visits. Yeah, that's a great way to demonstrate that dads have value by showing moms firsthand that they can do it. That's a really great idea, Maggie. And Debbie, rap cards will be great. Yeah, just something to leave behind so that it's always nice to have some of those statistics available where it's not just us feeling good, it's backed up by a little research. That's some really great responses to that first question. And so that also sort of leaked into the second question there, which is how can we demonstrate our program's value to a mother? And so that's pretty similar, but if you all have any different thoughts, I would love to hear them. Oh. But yeah, I really like the idea of encouraging dads to complete the tools. So those are also really nice because they are a nice way that we can measure progress for children's development or things like that. So that shows the mom that our program is not just great for them, but it's great for dads. And an idea, let's see here. Yeah, Joy, getting them to be co-participants and fill in for mom when she is unavailable. That is a great benefit to us also. I know firsthand that one of the hardest parts about being a home visitor is getting to schedule those meetings. That is a whole challenge in itself because people have busy lives. But if you have two parents you have an opportunity to complete visits with, that's a huge benefit to us. Dee, I see your hand raised there.
Well, I think you kind of have to help demystify the idea that mom is the only or the primary caregiver, and that if mom helps dad have confidence, like with an infant, especially like a newborn, that she might actually be able to get a shower and maybe even a nap.
A nap's the dream, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a great idea, and that speaks to a sort of a topic that I don't think Jason touched on a whole lot, is that maybe moms don't really have I don't know if have faith is the right word, but they don't think that dads can provide the care that they think their child needs. So if you can show mom that dads are capable, and if they have questions, that we can be there to help answer those questions, and that they can be that partner. Thank you, Dee. That's really great. And from Shannon, it allows the dad to feel important. Let's scroll down there. Dad to feel important and that they matter in the development of their child. Oh yeah, certainly. Making sure dads know that they are not just they're not optional. Like they're not just icing on the cake. They are totally necessary. And Dee, I see your hand raised again. Feel free to talk again, or it might have just not went down either way.
I actually just forgot to put it down, but
No worries.
but I do think too that that a lot. I think one of the most heartbreaking things when you go into a home where there's a newborn and there's a mom and the dad is when the mom is taking full control and the dad is just like sitting by and feeling like not important in the process. And just if the dad happens to be available in a home visit, then inviting him in, and maybe even, if mom seems to be a little bit rigid, you can invite dad in and have him do some activities with the baby, which might help give mom a little bit more confidence in dad.
That's a great idea, to allow a dad to demonstrate his own value to a mom. I really like that.
Now I'll lower my hand.
Yeah, and then we had from Susan, if MOB has expressed concern about father experiencing depression, and he doesn't see this as an issue, using the Edinburgh screen with father to assist with connecting him to the resources he may need. Yeah, so not just that we benefit the child, but that we can benefit both the parents themselves. I really appreciate you bringing paternal postpartum depression up into the conversation, Susan, because fathers do experience that. Okay, so that since they're kind of similar, we'll go ahead and move on. Sorry, I did not catch my own typo here. But so we'll move on to the third talking point. So this is a little more of a challenging topic, I guess. So Phil, there's no wrong answers or wrong conversation. So keep that in mind. But so what are some of the reasons a mother may be reluctant to share information with or about a father to us? So Zari, I see your hand raised.
Maybe just a little bit of embarrassment. She sees that dad is always working. She's basically all by herself, or maybe they are divorced, going through a divorce, and she's just embarrassed about talking about it. The whole issue that why would have to come up, why, dad is not in the home. It could be embarrassing to somebody that doesn't know better.
That's a very good point that I hadn't even thought of. So I appreciate you bringing that up. What are some ways? And so when we bring up these topics, kind of what I want to be thinking about also is how we can identify that. Sorry, my screen is doing something real weird here. How we can identify that issue and how we can address those issues. So she was talking about someone being embarrassed about the situation that they are in. What are some ways that we can, I hate to give the answer, but normalize that or overcome that barrier? And I see Eugenie will get to right after this. And that may just be something that's on there. All right, Zari, hey, I see your hand up. In a way that I think maybe we could overcome that is normalizing, sort of their situation, and that lots of people are in it, and that also, even though it, might be embarrassing, we are an unjudgmental group. We are trained to be caring about anyone, no matter their situation, but also that their presence can be beneficial to their child. So that's the way we could present it. Jeannie, I see your hand up. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so I supervise father services. So I have my workers, they meet just with the dads. And so we have, right now we have a couple of them, and it seems like it's always the case that mom's just not letting them see the child at all, which, adds the challenges. So, I mean, I think sometimes it's, for one, I think mom's feeling, she's mad at dad because he's not, his father, he has in a relationship with somebody else. And so then she's trying to keep him away from the child. So I think that maybe that sometimes is the case, that maybe insecurity with the relationship, they're upset about that. Or sometimes I think it goes back to maybe their own issues with their fathers, that sometimes that they're keeping them from being involved because maybe they had a better relationship with their dad and they don't think dad could be as a good father.
Those are a couple of really great reasons moms may be reluctant. I want to take a quick second to focus on the idea that a mother didn't have a great relationship with her father, because we ask our parents to, especially in growing great families, to reflect on the positive and negative experiences that they had growing up with their parents and how they want their children to remember them. So I think it is important to ask moms to look at those relationships. And we'll switch over to chat. D, he is in jail, and that's sort of also Vonda says he has a criminal background. So I'm interested to talk about this one for a little bit. So there are sort of two reasons here. One is that there is a physical barrier in the sense that dad is physically away from his child because he cannot be there because he's in jail, and a criminal background, which I assume means maybe he is in jail or that mom knows that he might have a sordid past. I'm interested to know if any of you all have any experience interacting with dads or even moms who are locked up, and how you've overcome that barrier. Zari, I see your hand up.
I'm sorry, earlier when you asked about normalizing the situation, I was talking, but I didn't realize I was on mute.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. But anyways, I do have actually some families where the father is in prison, and these two ladies had no problem telling me where the father of the children were and the whole story behind it. I think that if you make yourself available in a non-judgmental way, like you mentioned earlier, they can be comfortable on telling you why dad is not in the house. My thought.
Excellent. And so I think I'm sort of like diving into this a little bit. So when I was a FSW or FSS now, I suppose, I did have a mother who was in jail when we first met. And she was one of my absolute favorite participants because she so looked forward to seeing me every week. And I always knew where she was, which was great. And we built a strong relationship while she was in jail, and that carried over to a very strong relationship when she left. But so I guess another question I have is, so we don't really offer a whole lot of like curriculum based around helping parents transition from like being locked up to being out and being parents when they're out. Do you all feel like that's a need that we have, or something that we should look into more, or do you think we adequately cover that?
I think that if the father is not in the house, we should ask and cover it right away.
Okay.
So we could come up with, ideas on how to help this person overcome whatever the situation is. And if because of the divorce, explain to them right away why it's important for this child to be why is this father to be in the child's life, regardless of, well, no, I'm not going to say regardless of the situation, because if it's an abusive situation, by all means, we need to keep them away.
I totally agree. You said a whole lot of really great things there. So, and that also goes right into our next comment, which is a dad, excuse me. It says that at the end, there may be some domestic issues. So let's take a second, because this is like a really important part of what I wanted to talk about today. So we want to say that almost, like Zari said, almost all the time, it's very beneficial for a dad to be in a child's life. But in a case of an abusive or domestic violence type situation, what are your all's thoughts on that? How can we identify those issues and be respectful of them, and then address those issues? So I'll give an example real quick. So I know that we all have some training on recognizing domestic violence. Do your all sites have any sort of protocol or things that you do if you think there's domestic violence? I see Susan just said when MOB shares something like this, connect her to DV resources and support. That is an excellent thing to do, Susan. I'm sure most of your sites know and make sure that you know a list of referrals and areas in your service area that you can help get mom to where she needs to be. And I think that is just the most important thing, is to remember what your resources are in your community and know when and how to make those referrals. And if you ever have any questions, make sure you consult your supervisors. Zari, I see your hand raised.
Okay, that is if we are already in the house, yes. But just a question, let's say the domestic violence incident happened prior to us being in the house, and we don't find out till after, right?
Mhm.
And there is no way we can get any help for this father, because I mean, this is just a bad person. So what do we do in this case? My train of thought would be just teach this woman to be mom and dad, if you know, if that is possible. But what if we cannot save that? You cannot always, you cannot always help people. I mean, no matter, it happened before, it may happen again. Dad already went through some stuff, and it's best for him not to be with the family. Some women even run away to a different state, to other countries, because of the abuse. So how would you deal with this?
So that is a very good and very complex question that I will do my best to answer, but I look forward to any commentary or other people's thoughts. So one, if a mom is in danger, then we need to do our best to help her get out of that situation in a way that she is comfortable with. We don't want to put her in danger by trying to get her out of a dangerous situation, right? Next is that, yes, if you go into a home, or you, not even a home, if you are dealing with a participant and you find out that the father of the child has a history of domestic violence with the mom, you should not encourage her to get back together with them.
Right.
But so you can encourage her to make her own decisions and do what's best for her child, which is not being in a domestic relationship. Next, I do think that it's important to go into as many situations as you can with once again, go back to the sort of judgment and bias free as we can when we enter into a new situation. We deal with all sorts of parents who present all sorts of challenges, whether it's that they don't know how to breastfeed, they don't know how to change a diaper, or they have dealt with substance or harder issues like things like substance abuse, or they themselves have criminal backgrounds. But the important thing to remember too is that if someone comes to our program, it is voluntary. So in a way, I think that shows that they are wanting to make a change and that they are wanting to do what's best for their child. So we should provide the best unbiased services that we can until we learn more information. So I know that's sort of like a roundabout answer because there's not always a right answer, but I do believe that most, if not all, people have the propensity to change, and we should have that attitude going in, but we should never, ever put a mom or dad in that matter, because domestic violence does go both ways, into a dangerous situation. I hope that I sort of talked a circle there, I think, but hopefully that was a good answer. Jeannie, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it depends upon the case, because each case is different. And of course, number one, we want the mom and the children to be safe, but sometimes, the parents just aren't good together, and dad can leave and still be a wonderful dad. So then you have to, talk about how can mom, how can they maintain so that I can see the kids and be safe. And of course, do you meet in a public place? McDonald's or I know some counties sometimes have safe places where you can drop the kids off, but yeah, so certainly safety is number one, but sometimes it's, it was in one incident and dad realizes that, okay, they're just not good together.
That's a great point. and that the goal for encouraging father involvement is not always that the parents are together. And in a relationship sense, like they are both parents to that child. That's a lot of great thoughts there. But yeah, so we can engage a mom and a dad separately. They do not need to be, you don't need to encourage everyone to get married or be in a relationship or in a romantic relationship. They are in a relationship because they're parents. Yeah, Susan brings up a good point on that sites with a navigator position or the licensed position should connect family to those services too. Absolutely. And Dee says that their site offers split visits with both parents when they are separated or divorced. And also, I'm always pitching Fathering in 15. We're working on the training for it, but if parents aren't together, I encourage you to tell mom about our Fathering in 15 curriculum from National Fatherhood Initiative, and which is the fatherhood.org that Jason mentioned. And they can pass that information along to the dads, and since it's a website and it's really easy to use, no one even needs to be there to give it to them, which is great. Great, a lot of good conversation. Does anyone else have any more reasons a mother may be reluctant to share information with or about a father? We've covered a lot of them today. Jeannie, I don't know if your hand is up again or if I didn't click the button. How's that? And M. Edwards says, sorry, I can't see your first name, past trauma. Yeah, so if a mom has past trauma with that dad or her dad or another person in her life. Great, and so before we start to wrap things up, does anyone else have any thoughts or, okay, hold on. Susan says, will HFF be receiving any funding for fatherhood services initiatives? So we are working on it, unclear at this time. We have plans in place. We are trying, we will see. Does anyone else have any comments, questions, thoughts? So I would just like a quick summation, so I know that last topic is kind of negative and can be very negative, and we always want to be safe, right? But I would like to circle back to the very positive start of our conversation, where we make sure that we know ways and try to demonstrate a father's value to their child, which is incredibly huge. Developmentally, socially, mental health wise, or father involvement is almost always a positive. And so it's important to help be able to know how to demonstrate that to moms. And that it's also important to make sure that we can demonstrate that our program is valuable to the fathers of their children, and that as valuable as our program is to them, it is equally as valuable to their father. And so it's good to be able to know how ways that you can demonstrate that. I love the ideas about using tools with dads. Another quick thing that I forgot all about because I'm not feeling great, but someone mentioned before is involving dads in the home safety things. So when you do the home safety inspection or home safety checklist, dads are great at taking action. So make sure they're going through the home and they know how to, make sure you give them a list of some things that they can do to make their home safe for their child. Because they want their child to be safe, I guarantee that. So think about using our tools with them to demonstrate our value so that they'll stay engaged. Thank you all for the great discussion. I also wanted to bring up another opportunity to further your ability to engage the whole family and fathers. This year at the Healthy Families Florida Leadership Meeting, we will be welcoming Ann Pimentel, who will host 2 breakout sessions on parental alienation, which is something sort of new that I learned about, which is a set of behaviors one parent does to damage a child's relationship with the other parent. So that can be a huge barrier in building this whole family relationship. So these sessions will be a valuable tool in understanding the communication between parents and how we can encourage healthier communication between those parents and help their children have better outcomes. So I'm really looking forward to that. So the next let's switch images, let's be real professional here. The next Overcoming Barriers to Father engagement video series will be on August the 25th, another Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Central. And we will focus on the barriers of overcoming inadequacy, where we will discuss ways to overcome many fathers' fears and worries of not being an adequate father. And oftentimes those fears keep them away. So I will look forward to hearing your feedback from today's sessions. Feel free to reach out to me on my email. And I see a question from Joy. Is there a certificate for the train today? There's not. We are working on a fatherhood certification. So we are tracking who is in here though, Joy. Not tracking, that makes it sound very like, I know you're here and I appreciate your presence and it is noted. But yeah, so thank you all again so much for your efforts to engage fathers and Healthy Families Florida services, and have a great rest of your week. Yeah, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.